it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. Welcome back.
Yeah, welcome back. 2-week hiatus.
Yes.
Our many viewers will be disappointed.
Nothing's happened in 2 weeks.
Nothing at all, actually. I was actually debating if we should do this one, much like the debate last night.
That was a terrible pun.
That was a terrible pun, but it worked.
That was pretty bad. Beer of the week.
Beer of the week. You're starting. I will never do beer of the week.
So, yeah. All right, so in honor of the Democratic debate, we have Blue Blaze.
Blue Blaze. Yep, that's about as much as the debate did. Knocked over.
Knocked over.
The Blue Blaze.
Yep.
Why do I feel like this is associated with some type of football team?
No, the Panthers have their own beer.
Not
in case
the
you're wondering.
Panthers.
It's called the Roaring Riot. It's a pale ale. We have taken two very different classic German alt beer styles. I've never had this before.
This is about to be nasty, isn't it?
No, I
alt
think it's
beer amber ale.
I think it's going to be light. Oh, I can't open mine. I'm a shotgun it.
Oh, that's good.
Good.
That's the best one you've chosen. Congratulations.
Now the jam session in honor of Beto O'Rourke. Ugh.
Yeah. Speaking of Beto, did you know Andrew Yang, he tweeted, he's like, I miss Beto.
Yes, I know.
I saw that today. I was like, wow. And his answer is actually pretty interesting. He's like, yeah, you get
solid.
Yeah, it's a good beer, honestly. It's definitely the best one you've tried. Yeah, you've brought up so far.
Wait till I bring Miller Lite up here.
Yeah.
Just wait.
But yeah, he was just like, it was funny. He was like, yeah, once you're up there every week with someone like to the same side of you, you get used to it. And then when they're gone, it's kind of sad. I was like, that's weird.
Yeah, I was listening. I think I've talked about this. I was listening to a podcast, not mine,
Yeah.
that Beto O'Rourke was on. And he was talking about how between, you're like, what podcast could this be?
Yeah,
Anthony?
that's
The
exactly.
Bill Simmons podcast, which is normally about sports.
Yeah, don't
But sometimes Beto O'Rourke is on it. But
okay.
he was talking about how backstage between the debate,
Oh,
during the
yeah,
commercials,
yeah.
they're all like really friendly.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't believe that.
I've actually, ever since you told me that, you know, when they do the cutaways or they get to come into debate, I'm always watching all the candidates to see who talks to two. And on this last one, Andrew Yang was like doing jumping jacks at one point or something. He's like jumping up, trying to get hyped and
He's
whatnot.
a weirdo.
Yeah. Tom Sayers next to him, like looking at him like, what the hell is this guy doing?
So I was watching it, and my roommate walks by who doesn't do anything with politics.
Cool.
And he just hears, I'm going to give every American $1,000 a month. And he's like, that guy.
That guy.
Yeah. And he went to rip the bong.
Yeah. I have never looked into the universal basic income as much as I feel like it deserves because I know it sounds stupid face value, but it apparently has a lot more credibility than I would originally have thought.
It's actually a problem I'm really concerned about.
The
Is automation.
Yeah.
I think he's right. I don't think it's going to be as dire.
A lot of my
There's a fair
gut tells
point.
me people will adapt, but at the same time, when he starts talking about it, you're like, damn, this is a lot worse than I realized. Like, I didn't know it was this bad in the first place. And I mean, that's one of the, that's why he says he likes human capitalism, like emphasis on the human part, because pure capitalism, which is purely for the profit, doesn't have an incentive to keep people on board if it can profit without them.
You mean corporations don't care about people?
I mean, yeah. Santa Claus isn't real either.
So he talks a lot, Andrew Yang, about truck drivers.
How they're
trucking
getting
jobs.
automated out.
Apparently there's actually a shortage of truck drivers.
Speaking of that, tonight at 11 p.m., Tesla, they are unveiling their truck.
Really?
Yes.
Like a pickup truck kind of deal?
Yeah.
It's going to be like $70,000?
No, it's supposed to be less than 50.
I might have
Be
to look
interesting.
into this.
Only reason I brought that up is because automation, that's kind of their thing.
Does Tesla, I hear their cars have like biochemical defenses. Is this true?
I have no
Do you
idea.
know?
I know it flies if you wanted to.
So we had a colleague, Lee Byers,
Lee.
who've talked about a couple times.
Oh,
who
Lee.
briefly had a Tesla.
Yes, he briefly had a Tesla for like 2.5 weeks.
Okay. I just wanted to keep the tradition of bringing him up.
Yeah, do something every time, slam him in some way. Yeah.
Yeah, so he got a Tesla and then sold it.
Sold it because he got converted by Dave Ramsey.
Do you like Dave Ramsey?
I think he has a lot of wise advice in a lot of ways when it comes to managing your finances. I don't follow his stuff, but it's more, some of it's because I don't have the discipline to do what he does, and some of it's just because I'm willing to work as much as I need to work to enjoy life. So
Yeah.
I'll make the money I need to make in order to just sustain whatever I'm going to do, which isn't wise, but it's worked for me.
I mean, you only live
once.
once.
No, I mean, I think he has a lot of, I do think he has a lot of good financial advice.
Yeah, I don't think he's
his
wrong.
political commentary is atrocious, but
Yes, I agree with
his financial advice, if more people listened to it, the country would be better off, I would say.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Speaking of the country.
Speaking of the
direction
country.
it, there was a Democratic debate last night.
What a exciting time to be alive.
It wasn't that feisty.
It was shorter.
It was short, which, God, thank God.
Thank God.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't that feisty, which, to be honest with you, is a little annoying. I like fights. I really do. I like to know people have principles they're fighting for, and they think the other way is the wrong way. And what it feels like the Democrats are doing is, oh, we're not like Trump. We're civil. Let's just be civil with one another. And it's like, what the, so the stakes must not be that high.
So Tulsi Gabbard and
Kamala
got into it.
MSNBC was dying for that moment, though. They're like, oh, Tulsi just says something, and then they go to Kamala. Oh, did you have a response to that? We'll give you this opportunity here.
So every time Kamala talks, all I can think of her is Corn Pop from that Saturday Night Live skit. Did you see that?
Nope.
They did I can't believe I haven't seen it. They did.
I don't watch liberal propaganda. Sorry.
Okay, that's not true. I think you're more liberal than I am. Actually,
it depends on the policy.
It depends on the policy.
As a worldview, I honestly don't know. But like when we talk about like certain policies, it does seem that I align with Bernie Sanders a little bit more.
I do like Bernie, but
yeah.
Anyway, so there'll probably be a new skit on Saturday. But the first one when Kamala called out Joe Biden for the busing.
Okay.
SNL
what does that have to do with Corn Pop?
So SNL said, "Remember that little girl? I was that Corn Pop on that bus." Kamala Harris was getting bust. So
okay.
Corn Pop.
Yeah, but I mean, the reason it was interesting, like Tulsi basically destroyed Kamala back in July, and Kamala referred to her as a lower tiered candidate. Of course, a lower tiered candidate would come at Kamala, who's a higher tiered candidate.
Is she a higher tiered?
She was in July for those 2 hours.
That's right.
But it was funny because, man, she tried to go in on Tulsi. Like, she tried to go in on Tulsi about stuff that, honestly, I haven't fact-checked, but I have a gut feeling it's probably not 100% accurate.
No. So Tulsi has an interesting stake in this. She's not going to win the nomination.
No, not at all. The lane she's paved for herself is pretty interesting, though, because she's strong. Well, I say strong. Her forte is on foreign policy in terms of ending the war. And I think
isolationist.
She has a lot of credibility in the sense that she can point to a lot of stuff in her own life that gives her credibility. Not to say she's right, but it gives her credibility. And then she also just shreds apart the Democratic establishment a lot. And I don't think people like that. I think that's not taken too kindly.
No, and that's why I think she'll actually have a little bit of staying power because of that. I mean, she's directly positioned herself as an anti-Hillary Clinton candidate.
Yeah, the queen of warmongers. Her tweet
speaking of warmongers, Did you hear Hillary say she'll never say never about anything?
Yeah, a lot of people really want her to run in 2020, according to her.
If Hillary Clinton runs for president, I will vote for Donald Trump. I swear to God, I'm saying it now. Hey, America, I'll vote for Trump if Hillary runs.
Dude, I can't believe, this is part of the problem, right? Like, a lot of people go, how the heck did we get Donald Trump? And I'm like, part of me is like, okay, I understand that because there was 16 other Republicans. They could have chosen anyone, right? But then part of me is like, you guys put up Clinton. Like, Clinton is awful. Like, no one was enthusiastic about Clinton. Literally, she had 2 cards that she was playing. I have a lot of political experience, which most people thought was corrupt, so that didn't really go anywhere. And I'd be the first woman president. Those are like her 2 things and I was just like, no one's enthusiastic about her. The fact that people. Sorry, I shouldn't say no one. She just didn't have. She's kind of like the Joe Biden. Like, there's certain people that are like the idea. I guess because she was a woman, there's some more enthusiasm behind her than Joe, actually. Joe. But yeah, so I mean, it's funny to me that she's like, it's the height of narcissism to think you should run again in 2020.
And so, she won the popular vote in 2016. I don't know.
She did.
Rehash this too much, but she did win the popular vote.
3 million more.
Right. She got the most votes in history.
I honestly think that has more to do with the despising Trump than supporting Hillary. I really don't think that because honestly, if you look at the popular vote by presidents, she came pretty close. I think Obama's second, his reelection was right around the same amount of votes.
So what does it say, whoever Democrats nominate, Elizabeth Warren, Joe Biden, Mayor Pete?
I don't even know.
What does it say if they lose twice to Donald Trump about the Democratic brand?
I don't, to be honest with you, I don't know. I don't know, because there's a couple different ways you can analyze it. One, you could say, well, they're out of touch with the American people. You can analyze it that way. Like, they just don't know what America wants, and so they need to recalibrate as a party. 2, you could say Republicans, Trump, Fox News, all this entity that they've become are just really good at playing dirty. And so they're just going to win because they play super dirty. And it doesn't mean the Democratic Party needs to recalibrate everything. It just means, you have to adapt, and you guys didn't adapt enough, something like that, So I don't know.
Yeah, I think if I had to predict now a year out, I would say Donald Trump's probably going to win again.
If it's Biden as the nominee, I have no doubt. Well, actually, didn't you have all this
There's arguments for and against all of them. I mean,
yeah, I don't know. Honestly, I've lost. Like, I looked at a poll this morning and it said Biden and Bernie were tied for the presidential nomination, and then I looked at one yesterday and Bernie was 15 points behind Biden.
I think obviously,
and I'm just like, I get why people say you can't trust polls. Like, I'm not one of those people, but I get it because, and I read an article on MSNBC today. It's like there's never been a spread like this in the primaries for an election. It varies so much from poll to poll. I have no idea who's going to get the nomination at this point.
Yeah,
it's weird. Even Buttigieg, he's like first in New Hampshire and Iowa right now. Where the heck did that come from?
In Iowa
and New Hampshire.
Yeah,
where did that come from?
And he could probably win those states.
Oh hell yeah, he'll honestly, I think he'll carry Iowa for sure.
I could see that
because they didn't seem to like any of the other candidates.
So he's catching all these. We've kind of seen them ebb and flow with their momentum, and I think he's catching it. This is just the right time. Biden and then Warren had it, and then you see if Mayor Pete just carries it for 2 months, really.
Just keep your name in the news.
And Christmas and Thanksgiving will happen.
Yeah.
He could win it.
Yeah.
You know? And then what?
He could. So I don't know how much weight is put on those states. Like if because South Carolina is going to go to Biden. He's carrying it by 25 plus
Unless
points.
something dramatic changes.
Yeah. Which honestly, dude, speaking of the debate, man, he is so bad.
He can't talk.
His strategy needs to be don't talk because he can't talk.
Does no one tell him? What do you think his advisors are saying?
At least Trump, like, I understand. Like, if you read a script of what Trump says or you listen to what Trump says, you're like, damn. Like, did you see his notes? When big, bold Sharpie.
Yes.
Like, you look at that and you're like, oh my gosh, this guy's our president. And you're just like, oh, please God, you know? And then Biden starts talking and you're like, this guy doesn't even know where his next sentence is starting. Like, he's so confused.
He was talking and then
he cuts himself. He's like, oh, anyway, you know, we don't need to hear any more of what I'm saying.
Candidate that when they're like, all right, that's enough. He's just like, okay.
He's like, okay.
Yeah.
He cuts himself off before his time's up.
Yeah, I know.
Because
and then you
honestly,
get Bernie's finger.
Well, I mean, Bernie like, hey, me, over here. But I mean, you heard him in the debate. He's like, I was the first African American woman to be elected to the Senate. You're like, Kamala's like, nah, I was, or something like that. And it was like, Biden's like, no, I said the first. I'm like, dude, you missed the whole point here.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Biden I really wish he wouldn't have run. Really wish he wouldn't have won. I mean, I don't know. I honestly I thought I had a pretty good grasp on the polling. The one thing Bernie has going for him pretty hardcore, in my opinion, is his polling has been very consistently trickling up. Like, it hasn't really dipped at any point.
He's never going to drop.
He has a strong base.
Yeah.
Which I honestly, wholeheartedly believe if Biden does get the nomination, they will lose for two reasons. One, the Bernie base is not enthusiastic about a establishment Democrat to the point where they probably won't vote for him because Biden doesn't represent anything they want. I mean, think of like what Bernie wants, and where's the overlap with Biden? There's almost none.
There's only one thing, which would be getting Donald Trump
out, right? So you have a pretty big section of the Democratic Party that doesn't like the Democratic establishment. And then on top of that, dude, Trump is like a freaking magician, man. He's like a magician when it comes to like this whole impeachment stuff would have brought any other president down. Any other president. And he's
like a cockroach.
He literally
kill him. You can't.
Dude, today he was like yesterday's testimony was one of the most damning ones for him so far. And literally all him and Nunes did today was, yesterday was the end of it. It's over. That was clearly that clearly shows I'm vindicated. And like as someone who follows it, I'm like, what are you talking about? But that's all he has to say, and then he moves on and it's over. It's the weirdest thing, man. He's untouchable.
No. Which is why I think he'll win
2024.
Yeah. So if Trump, there's two paths here, obviously. Trump wins or Trump loses. Actually, MSNBC had a stupid thing where they played out a possible tie scenario.
Not MSNBC,
which would be terrible.
They love the entertainment factor Trump has brought to their ratings. The media, like Trump.
They love to hate him.
I don't like Trump, but he definitely pinpointed on the media's bias and sensationalism in a way that is accurate in a lot of instances. Now, he calls stuff fake news if it's negative on him. That's like his knee-jerk reaction, so I'm not saying that. But I genuinely think the media loves the amount of controversy Trump brings.
Yes.
They get off on
money.
It's money. Straight up money.
Yeah. It's crazy. And so
they ran a scenario if it is a tie.
Yeah, 269 to 269 for the electoral votes. Basically, there's like 2 or 3 states where they split the electoral college vote by congressional district, and if you win the congressional district. And in those states that were close, there were like 3 districts that were like
up in the air,
coin flips. but it also assumes that Democrats win Michigan and Pennsylvania, lose Ohio, et cetera, et cetera. Now, if Trump loses, I've heard this theory floated on the left. If Trump loses, will he actually peacefully leave?
Dude, I don't even know. I honestly don't know. I mean, he has to, like you would think. Like, he has to.
But I don't know everything so far.
Yeah, he's broken a lot of political norms for better or worse in those areas, but I don't know. And the part of me, like, I'm not as worried about if Trump won't want to leave or not, because my gut tells me he probably won't want to. My worry is he has such a hold on the base that it's like if he doesn't want to leave, I don't know how many people, like Republicans, would go, nah, man, we had an election, you lost, this is what's fair, we're in a country, let's respect the election process. No, I don't see most Republicans that support Trump doing that. And maybe I'm mischaracterizing them, but based on, again, this impeachment stuff would have sunk. It's 9 times worse than what Nixon did.
Yes.
But it doesn't even seem to touch him from the Republicans' perspective. They don't care. They're literally doing everything they can to smear every witness that comes up on Capitol Hill to testify, even to the extent where one who's an immigrant and has climbed the ranks, has a Purple Heart, they questioned his loyalty to the United States because Ukraine had made him an offer. And so they're like, oh, whose side are you on here, As if what he's doing benefits Ukraine.
Yeah.
I mean, the absurdity. I had a funny Facebook status, actually, about this.
Is it that funny if you have to plug it?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Well, I was just being snarky during the debates, so I put on my Facebook, I was like, man, I'm convinced if Trump, Republicans, Fox News, and like your Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hannity personality type people came together, they could convince the base that the earth is flat. And I just I say a bunch of dumb stuff, on Facebook, but that one, I think, hit a couple people's nerves. But anyway.
But it's true.
Yeah, it's just the reason I said that is because I'm looking at this impeachment stuff, and I'm like, this is clear. He needs impeached. Like, there's not a lot more to think about here, but he doesn't get impeached.
So, and I think we're kind of getting away from it. Is the debate last night?
They asked about the impeachment.
Yeah. No, I know.
For like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Surprise, everyone thinks he needs impeached.
Yeah, they all agree on that.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone really, I don't know if there was a clear winner, so to speak. Everyone did. I don't know.
So if you want to look at everyone kind of did their thing. No one went after each other. I don't think we learned
anything new. It actually got a little more civil. So one thing that kind of loomed over the debate was Barack Obama's remarks. I'm sure you saw that.
Dude, MSNBC, they're sly. But yeah, Barack Obama's, which if you want to kind of break down what Barack Obama said.
He basically cautioned the primary field to not go too far left.
In other words, he warned against Bernie and Elizabeth.
Yes. And I think...
And I'm like, just come out and endorse Biden then. If you actually care, don't play this. Biden. I don't either. But I mean, if you're actually going to come out and play this shadow game where you're going to be pretend warning, but actually not getting in, but kind of getting in, just come out and say, no, this is wrong. Let's go this way.
So he was very cautious during his presidency. I think he's very cautious now that he's probably still the most popular Democratic politician.
Yeah.
So
yeah, unfortunately.
And I think
that's not against him, but it's just he has a lot of weight and he's not using it.
Right. And I don't know if he wants to throw it in or not, but if he wanted to endorse someone, say he wants a moderate path, you can want a moderate path but still not want Joe Biden.
That's true.
And who does that leave you? Yeah, exactly. Mayor Pete. So,
which would be a slam against Biden. Biden would fall like that if that happened.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I get why Obama can't come in. Yeah, maybe, dude. If Buttigieg,
but why can't he? What political norms do we have left? He could.
No, he could,
but he won't. No, I know.
Oh, sorry. Biden asked him not to.
Yeah, because he wouldn't.
No, Biden asked him not to. Brock was calling the press like, "Hey, I love my boy Joe."
I don't think that's
and
true.
Joe's like, "Nah. Let's hold off on that. I want to win fair and
square."
I
think Obama is like every other Democrat, and they're so scared of Trump winning again. They're like, "Okay, maybe we do want these big structural changes that Bernie are purporting, but we don't. We're just afraid of supporting that and losing."
It's funny. 2 things to that point. You heard MSNBC ask the question to Bernie. I believe it was Bernie. About something about how, look, what's winning in those swing districts that are red and turning blue is a moderate position. It's not I think she might have been asking Elizabeth, actually. It's not the progressive change that you're saying with Medicare for All and stuff. It's actually, it was Elizabeth, because she was saying the people in swing districts are wanting, they don't want Medicare for All. They want the single payer option. They want you to defend Obamacare. So why do you want to do something against the swing districts is what basically she's asking. And I'm just banging my head against the wall because I'm like, I'll get into the polling in just a second, but I was very annoyed. But you could see the angle that they're having to work is incremental change is what will win, even if structural change is what everyone wants, it won't win. So what's the point? Let's at least take what we can get. It seems to be like the Joe Biden and Buttigieg and Obama-esque type of party.
And so Obama, won 2 terms. I would settle.
Yeah, but what did he win on? That's what pisses me off. Is when he ran, he said, "Let's do big change. I'll give you hope. This will be like no other."
But as a leader, he wasn't.
What did he do in his presidency that was like, take Obamacare off the table? Right?
Well, he couldn't.
Okay, but that's the point. Is these incremental changes won't work because no one gets incremental changes in Washington. You go again. I've used this point before. The Republicans passed a tax bill with 14% approval rating. Because they rammed it, not because they said, "Hey, let's tiptoe around this subject." This is why Democrats lose to Republicans, in my opinion. Republicans are like, "Let's brawl." Democrats are like, "Let's analyze."
The Democrats also can't agree with each other, and they argue about stupid stuff.
Agreed.
So,
3 months or 6 months of maternity leave.
Yes, I'm so glad you brought that up. And I was like, "Are you guys kidding me?"
Like, let's just agree it needs to happen, and like. Move on.
Yeah, Amy Klobuchar's like, well, we can't pay for 6 months, but we can pay for 3 months. Like, I feel like most rational people would like agree, like we have to have some form of this.
Yeah, why don't we? Actually, I've been waiting for them to talk about this because it's a need we have.
But we talk about something and then we get into this.
Yeah, and Amy's sitting there like, no, it's reasonable to pay for 3 months, but you lost me at 6 months.
Yeah,
I'm just like, oh my god, like. As someone who like prefers the Democratic Party or the Bernie Sanders Party on like 80% of the issues. I'm like banging my head against a wall when I listen to these debates a lot of times.
And one thing, and I get this just as I'm getting older and in the workforce, is Cory Booker was talking about affordable housing, which is a problem.
Yeah.
Especially in like a state like California.
Yeah.
He was saying he has a proposal to give a tax refund or tax credit to anyone whose rent is more than 1/3 of their income.
That's good.
But why is that good?
Well, he's trying to make it more affordable for people, right? You said to give a tax credit. I missed that part of the debate. I guess I fell asleep or something. But
so my 2 macro and micro.
So, but what's one more time? Just what was he advocating?
Tax credits to anyone whose rent is more than 1/3 of their income.
Okay, and so your macro, micro. Let's go with that.
So macro is like. I just don't. This is not an issue that I think is going to win, and this is what I think.
Okay. I see what you're saying. Okay, so
it's like
whether it's a good idea or not, is not going to like sell. It's not going to sway anything.
And micro, it made me upset. Maybe I'm just getting to be an old man, and I don't know. And I'm questioning my views, but I was like, working in the housing sector. I'm like, it's really hard to buy a house.
Yeah.
Why do you want to de-incentivize that? And I think so many people
sure
have this view. And again, I'm going to vote. I'm going to preface everything I say on this for the next year is I'm going to vote for whoever the Democratic nominee is. Sure. Is that all these people that I think voted for Trump in the middle America, so to speak, are like, I think they're ultimately voting against their self-interest.
Yeah.
But Trump has tapped into that, like, why, if you're working hard for something.
Yeah, why punish hard work? Why reward laziness, right? So, in other words, government subsidies and government handouts and giving free college for the rich, you're essentially incentivizing the wrong things, right? And you're punishing the billionaires who have supposedly worked their asses off to get where they're at, and you're punishing them. So the Democratic Party is risking looking like and I think it might have been Booker that went off on this a little bit, actually, I believe. He's essentially saying we can't always be the party of where do we need to tax. We need to be the party of how do we – he's like, I talked to a bunch of African Americans across the country. They want to be entrepreneurs. They want to build stuff. He's like, we need to tap into that. And I think it's right. I actually think the Democratic Party markets that part very poorly. And just I'll end on this is one of the reasons, like, for example, you should say Medicare for All makes sense is because it frees up businesses to be able to it gets weight off their shoulders that they can then be more innovative. And they never talk about those things.
Right.
They only talk about taxing the rich.
Because all you're talking about is taxes and how you're going to pay for it. Yeah. And they're framing it like this.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's not. They're not being framed that way.
Because Republicans have, on healthcare at least, Republicans have nothing.
Nothing.
So Democrats can choose how to message this.
That's a good point. That's a
very
good
point. And they're still choosing, like, we're talking about paying.
It's a very good point. Yeah, and I mean, so... Yeah, and I could have radically different ideas in 5 years than I do now. Like, that's the problem, right? Is because I'm always trying to constantly learn, constantly be informed, constantly. As I stand now, I might learn more. That's like, wow, that was a dumb position to take. Like, I'm fine with that. It doesn't bother me. I think honest people should evolve over time. Like, if you're honest,
not always going to say.
No, you're not going to believe the same thing.
Which is why I don't like people when people hit Joe Biden for something from 30 years ago.
Yeah, I don't. To me, you should anything within the last 15 years is pretty fair game.
Yeah.
The more recent, the better. But yeah, I agree.
Like he has plenty of flaws.
Yeah,
like
and stick with the recent ones.
It's like the purity test that the Democratic Party is putting forth.
Yeah, it's weird though because I don't like the guy, but I think he tweeted this out recently, and I thought it was pretty good. Dan Crenshaw, though, guy from
I like him.
I really hate his political. I like him individually. He seems like a very nice guy.
That's what I'm saying.
Political insights are awful, 80% of the time.
That's what I'm saying.
But he said something. He's like the deeper you can convince someone the problem is, the more radical you can present the solution, right? So he's fighting against like Medicare for all. He's like, or it was something else he was fighting against, and I thought it was a good insight, right? And so if you can, like when Bernie says 500,000 people, and I've said this, have to file bankruptcy, 82 million are either uninsured or underinsured, and 30,000 die every year and bankruptcy and all this stuff, it paints a very nasty picture, which then people say, all right, just solve it for us. And so that can kick us into a radical solution, like let's say Bernie's idea for Medicare for all is radical, right? And so there is a part of me that you were saying the purity test, right? Is it comes down to how deep do you think the problem actually is? Because if it is really bad, then we need radical change. It's not a purity test to say that. It's people are in need, let's do something about it, that's why we're here. But I don't know where the line draws from my way or the highway is a good thing to have or it's a bad thing to have.
So this is why I say purity test, and I think healthcare is clearly a problem, is that if you were talking about the Democrats, that if Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren doesn't get the nomination, just won't vote.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Sure.
Is like,
but why would they vote?
Because any Democratic candidate, in my opinion, any Democratic candidate is better than Donald Trump.
Sure, but like this is you don't motivate people by constantly saying the lesser of two evils, right?
Right, that's the
constant situation.
So, and again, if we have a nominee where it's like it is Joe Biden, or it was Hillary Clinton, is like I hate having to defend this, but I'm still going to vote for this person.
Sure,
but I know why they're going to lose.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. I've never been someone that operates under the lesser of two evils, so it's hard for me to kind of take out of my own mind to get into that just because I hate that mindset so much. I think you perpetuate in a self-fulfilling prophecy when you have so many people that are constantly voting the lesser of two evils. It just gets you stuck there forever, And so my mindset is always vote for people who have your values, whether it's policy or whatever it may be. And if they don't vote. Who cares? Like, who cares who the other person is that's going to win? Vote for people who have your ideology. And then it will iron itself out over time to be more fair and representative of the people. But I'm probably a little naive with that.
So, I mean, this is always the question. Are you voting for or against someone?
Yeah, I'm never someone that'll vote against.
Right.
And I'm not saying that's right. I have to... And Bernie said this, and I appreciate it. And I think Buttigieg has said it. A lot of people have said this, actually, is... We can't just always talk about beating Trump. We have to have what's after that. What are we fighting for?
Mayor Pete's really hammered that.
Yeah, he actually has. And I hate his line, though. The day the sun rises up after the Trump presidency. I'm like, come on, dude. Like
better than restoring the soul.
That is true.
Biden was like flabbing around for figuring out what he's going to say. And he's like, restoring the soul of America. I was like,
if you ever malfunction, just say restore the soul of America.
But I see on Facebook, which is obviously very informal, these Democrats are like, they're so worried. They're like, Biden, he can beat him.
Really? See, I don't have any outspoken... Okay, let's get into that actually a little bit because I read up on some polling today.
Interesting. Of course you did.
Polling. Specifically about Medicare for all because I was kind of curious. Because Buttigieg here is like,
public option.
He literally advocated for Medicare for all for the last 4 years.
And the polling.
And then he started running for presidency, and he's like, screw that. I'm going the other way.
Well, Medicare for all that want it. That's
No. He has been he literally, because he's super intelligent, and he's super articulate. Like, he's the smartest guy on the stage, in my opinion. Doesn't mean most qualified, but he's the smartest, and he's the most eloquent. He literally articulated, I think it was last year, about how there's a difference between a single-payer system, a national health care system, and how the single-payer system of the government is the starting point. And then you can negotiate if you want to go into a national health care system like the UK has, but you have to start from a single payer because that's the only way we need to move forward. He literally lays this out in a very intelligent way. He wrote a paper right after he got out of high school, I believe, praising Bernie for his consistency on issues that the country needs to stick with and stick for.
Bernie's been around.
Because Bernie's been around that long, right? And so, how did we get on this? Where were we at?
Purity
test, but there's something else before that. Dang, I lost my train of thought.
I was basically saying I'm going to vote for whoever the nominee is.
Voting for or against. Don't vote for
public
against.
Option.
Medicare
polling,
yeah.
Millennials.
Polling. Medicare. There we go. Damn, that was good.
Recap.
That was actually good. God. So Medicare for All polling, Kaiser, I think it's a Kaiser, or one of the really credible ones, one of the ones that people use. And it was polling Medicare for All, right? Single payer option within the Democratic Party polls at about 82% support. Medicare for All polls at about 78%.
Even though they're the same thing?
So no, what did I say?
Medicare for All and single payer?
Sorry. Public option. Obamacare, my bad. Public option polls at like 82%.
Okay.
So it's pretty high. It's dropped actually down to like 79%, I think, is what the study was saying. So it's dropped like 3% since July, which who cares? Medicare for All is around the same. It's within a couple percentage points, which means the Democratic Party doesn't care. Go one way or the other. We just need you guys to do something for the most part, right? But what's interesting is when you separate it into age groups, who trusts which candidate the most for healthcare? Overall, if you take all the data, Bernie is like 30%. Most people trust Bernie like the most, right?
First.
But then when you break it down into age group, so it's Bernie and Biden is at the top, by the way. But when you break it down into age group, anyone that's under 40 is like Bernie all the way. There's a group that's like 50 to 60 that is like really heavy Biden, and then 60 plus is like mainly Biden, you know? And so it's really interesting to see the support for Biden and Bernie being based off of age groups. It's very, very interesting.
So yeah, it sounds like about right.
Which is going based off what you said on Facebook.
And I think the thing that nullifies the whole moderate swing voter kind of deal is a whole new coalition of voters.
Yeah, you've brought that up many times, and that's a good point.
That nullifies everything.
Yeah,
and,
if it happens.
And I think Bernie could do that, honestly. I really do.
I do, too. I actually think Bernie would destroy Trump, but I'm also a little biased, obviously. So like if I try to take my bias out of it, I'm like, well, the Republicans would be pretty good at painting him as a socialist, which would worry the moderate voters potentially. So I can kind of see the angle they would work.
And see, I'm falling into this fear, like not even fear.
Yeah,
is that I'm so scared that Trump is going to win again.
Yeah,
I'm going to vote for
whoever
he is.
I get that. I don't know who I would most pick. People I know are let me phrase that. Most non-Republicans I know, yes, obviously, are of the same mind.
I think the institutional damage that 8 years of Donald Trump in White House, and then probably one of his kids running, to be honest, after that.
Yeah.
I just don't see how you get back from that.
I don't. I don't know.
And this is why I think he's going to win again, is I think the Electoral College and the path to victory for Democrats in those middle states.
It's harder.
But I can see a candidate. Like
you have to have an enthusiastic candidate, which is why, to me, Warren or Bernie stand the most chance, because there's no one's enthusiastic about Biden and like let's rally up your friends to go support this guy type of way. At least no one that's going to get a lot of momentum. Like older people already show out large numbers to vote. You're not rallying new people. They're just going to go for their guy. Younger people, like if they're enthusiastic about someone, they're going to get people who don't vote to vote. Mm-hmm. And so it is kind of interesting to see the dynamics there, though.
And, I mean, Bernie, there's an argument to be made that Bernie would have won the 2016 nomination.
I believe he would have.
If it was not rigged against him.
Back in 2015, like, I wasn't super into politics because I was doing some other things that I thought was, like, more interesting at the time. But I was getting into politics. And I remember I saw an ad once. I was like, dang, that was a good ad. And then at the end, it's like, this is for Bernie Sanders for America. And I was like, oh, I'm not supposed to like that ad because I was coming from conservative circles, like, pretty hardcore. I'm like, oh, this guy's the bad guy, you know? He's evil Santa Claus. And so like I remember putting on Facebook like, look, Bernie, like his ad was good, but the things he advocates for, I just don't understand how it's possible. It seems kind of dumb. And I had a cousin who was a Bernie Sanders and kind of told me a couple of things. I remember thinking, oh, okay, that makes more points. But I do think Bernie would have stood a good chance to beat him in 2016. Just because the more you get to know Bernie, the more you're like, why do we have a problem with this guy? Like, why is he an issue anymore? Like, he's not radical.
And people are like, oh, socialism. Like, why is Medicare for All bad?
Yeah.
Because we can't figure out how to pay for it? Is that even...
It's... it depends on who you're talking to, right? If you're talking to a libertarian, it's bad because it puts a government in so much of our lives to run healthcare. If you're talking to a Republican, their Lord and Savior Ronald Reagan basically said the way that the socialism takes over is through healthcare. That's the avenue that socialism has traditionally come through, right? Historically, it's not true, but you know he said it, therefore we believe it. So they just go to that mindset of like Medicare for All is pinpointing a weakness we have as a way to bring in socialism and bring in big government, right? So all those words start floating around in their head, right?
Yes.
To a moderate, you hear it's going to cost $32 trillion, and you're like, damn, that's a lot of money. Like I don't want to stop that. I don't want that money. To the Democrat, the establishment Democrat, the concern is, you know, it's not a winning message. They're afraid it's just not an electable message. It comes from that point of view. So whoever you're talking to, there's different veins of worries about it.
I think it does cost a lot. One thing Bernie always floats around is the corporations that have paid $0 in taxes.
Yeah,
which is basically all of them.
He tweeted something that was hilarious. He's like, "Your subscription to Netflix this month cost more than they paid in taxes,"
which is true.
Which is true. I was like, "What?"
So, I know. So, interesting point on that.
Oh God.
If these companies had to pay taxes, which they totally should,
100%.
Yeah,
no case to be made that they shouldn't.
But if they did, would they pass the cost on the consumer?
Some of them. Because they're greedy a-holes.
And then doesn't the market then dictate?
Yeah, that's the part I don't. So this is the part of me that, like, in 5-10 years from now, if I'm not like progressive of Bernie Sanders, this is the part that would get me, right? Is I think a lot of people assume good intentions negates unintended consequences. So in other words, it's a good intention to want to raise everyone's wage to $15 an hour, right? The unintended consequence you didn't think through was automation's going to get these people out of here because you don't have to pay a machine $15 an hour. Mm-hmm. The costs go up, so it's just going to bring all the costs up because now you're having to pay labor more. So there's like a list of items that are consequences of your good intention. And this is the part that I wonder about with like the Bernie Sanders wing, and even in my own framework, is I'm like, okay, I can try to virtue signal my whole life about my good intentions, but have I thought through the unintended consequences enough? And so that's where I'm kind of like, I don't know, but yeah, I don't know.
So I mean, with Medicare for all,
yeah,
and it would be, okay, your taxes go up, but your overall costs go down. Sure. More people have health. Everyone has health care.
Proven
coverage.
By other countries that do this.
Right.
That's the
and
part.
That's the other thing is, like, we're talking about how to pay for this. This clearly works.
It works in multiple contexts.
And you don't have to do it. Okay, you can argue.
Like, our way clearly doesn't work.
Yeah. No, I know. And if you want to argue, do we do this in 2 years or 8 years? Okay.
Yeah.
But it's other countries.
Yeah, that does confuse me why Bernie. I mean, I get it, but I also don't get it. Is like, he's like, in 4 years, we have to ram this through. And I'm like, first of all, I don't even say that's feasible. Second of all, like, why don't you have more of like a, I don't want to say diplomatic approach to it, but
that's the point. Is like, why are we waiting for change? Like, people are dying or going bankrupt.
Exactly.
Why are we waiting?
That's very true, dude. And
why is medical debt a thing to begin with?
It shouldn't be. I just saw an article how a lady literally had $900,000 in medical debt after the birth of her baby because some type of surgery had to be done, and she happened to be without insurance. Like this small window, $900,000 debt, like insane. But yeah,
I had to. I was trying to make an appointment at a dermatologist.
There we go.
And I called them. I went there in high school, and there were apparently my parents forgot to pay a bill, and I was blacklisted. They won't take me. I was like, what if I had like skin cancer?
Yeah, no.
And that's the thing is, like, it's for profit.
No, but this is the problem. Okay. You have to know who your audience is when you talk about issues. And this is an issue that I feel like resonates with I don't follow politics because I think it's all corrupt and I don't want to have to worry about any of it. I get that person, right? Because a lot of it is bogus. But if you called 911 and they asked you what subscription you had or how much you're willing to pay, like, let's say you think you heard someone break into your upstairs, right? And you had to make a decision. Do I call the cops and risk going into bankruptcy? Or do I go check on it myself just to make sure I'm right?
And risk dying. But maybe it's nothing. And so when you have a system that's built on profit, there's a reason we don't do that with our law enforcement. We don't want their incentive to be the profit of our weakest and most desperate moment. And healthcare, the idea that the market will self-correct prices, hell no, it won't. It'll abuse the hell out of it. But we've seen it because there's no competition.
Yeah, it's so infuriating, man. So I don't. That is one thing I don't think, as long as I live, I will ever be convinced of, is that the free market will fix the healthcare. You could convince me in other areas, but not there.
And that is why I could, if Mayor Pete was a nominee, I could live with the public option. Because if you say,
but I don't know if that would work. So here's my, on a scale of 1 to 10, this argument sounds like a 10 out of 10 argument, but it could be like a 2 out of 10 argument if I knew more of what I was talking about. So anyway. Public option only works if enough healthy people are in that option.
You would have to bring back the individual mandate.
Which wasn't popular with a lot of people.
No, which is also...
Like, that was not popular with a lot of people. Now,
Trump got rid of it.
Yeah, and Trump got rid of it. So the problem is you have to find a way to subsidize all the sick people within the public option. You just have to.
Because it's going to be poor people.
It's going to be poor or unhealthy people, people that can't afford it. That's the whole reason they're in it. But who's supporting those people? So it's not sustainable.
So then,
since
the government's paying for it anyways, you might as well have Medicare for all.
Which is more efficient and will save more money. But this is really the bad point. And this is what infuriates me about Mayor Pete, because I know he's smart. Like, I know he is. I've listened to him enough to be like, this guy, like 20 times smarter than me. This is what's so annoying, is because what happens when that public option fails in 8 years, 10 years from now? What happens when it crashes? What do the Republicans get to turn around and say?
But I don't think that's it. I think we're talking about how intelligent he is. He's making a calculation. If he stakes on Medicare for all, he can't win.
He can't win.
Which says something.
No, I know what he's doing. He's abandoning principles for political gain. I know what he's doing. But what annoys me is he also knows the public option is not sustainable. Period.
I think he's smart enough to know that
he's said that before. And so, like, or I believe he said that. I should probably make sure of that. But and that's what's annoying to me, is it's like they Biden and Buttigieg slam Medicare for all. Like, you're trying to take choice away from Americans. Like, when was the last time you're like, I wonder what fire department I should call for this fire that's in my house? I need a choice between 10 of them.
It's not a choice between healthcare provider.
Yeah.
They're just paying for your
exactly.
insurance.
You can go to whatever doctor, hospital you want.
You have more choice.
You have more choice. You have more freedom to choose.
Talk myself into it.
You're done. But I mean, think about that. Like, what police department do I want to call to stop this guy? You know, what fire department should put out this fire? I don't care. Just come and do it. It shouldn't be like, I need to choose what private insurance I want for this and that reason, when we don't know what the heck we're talking about 90% of the time anyway. Just cover it all. It's done, and it can be done cheaper. I mean, it just...
We do so many things that other countries don't, or we don't do things that other countries do. Healthcare, education,
public financing of elections is something I've been looking into. That's huge. That's huge. And
guns.
A lot of stuff, man. Because we're America and we know better because of exceptionalism.
I just don't understand.
We're convinced of our own greatness because at a time where there was a true uniqueness to the United States, there really was. But to me, what happened was when you become like, when you think you're the best, you stop trying to learn from other people. And so when you become convinced you're the best, instead of like, the only way you stay the best is to constantly learn and adapt, in my mind. Like we've been in sales, right? You never like become the top guy by plateauing and not adapting. You have to constantly adapt. You have to constantly overcome.
Lee Byers adapts.
Yeah.
God damn
yeah.
it.
But like, you never thought from Lee, like, oh, this guy's full of himself about stuff. Like in like a real sense. Like he may get cocky for fun. But what I mean is like at work, like anyone could come talk to him, ask him questions about stuff. Like he never came across like, I'm not willing to learn. Like he like, there were several things that he's like, wait, what did you do there? Oh, I need to start doing that, you know, like.
So we were trying to be the best.
Yeah.
At one point, probably we're
the best in a lot of metrics. And now we're so convinced, this comes mainly from the Republican side, but
yes, that's a problem.
It's like an obsession with you. Like, you'll hear this from everyone. Ben Shapiro, Charlie Kirk, all these, United States is still the best place to live in the world. Da, 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 da. It's like, okay, let's just say that's true. That doesn't mean we can't improve. So let's improve.
And I mean, demonstratively, I think we are one of the better. Yeah,
of course, big time.
There's no debating that.
But it doesn't mean we're perfect. And
right.
If you're not perfect, then you can improve. And if you can improve, then pointing out where you can improve shouldn't be a problem. And
right.
That's the issue.
And also, all the people you just listed are wealthy white males.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah. I mean,
out there.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, man.
But that's why there's this real like. It's nationalism in a sense.
Yeah, I don't know, because like I get the element of like you should be like George Washington did his inaugural speech. There's a couple of things he pointed out, but one of the things he pointed out was like we need to be proud of our nation. We need to be proud together. We are one people. Like not in like a racist sense, but like yeah. But that's the point. Is like the Democratic Party does kind of miss an element in my mind of patriotism. They just do, because they don't seem to be as comfortable talking about the greatness of America. Which there is things you should praise. But at the same time, the Republican Party completely like whitewashes and ignores all the bad about the United States. And that, like I've heard people describe the Civil War as a medal for us. Like, weren't we so great we went to war with our own self to free the slaves? It's like, why did it come to that point?
Why did we have slaves?
Why did we have that? Like, god dang, man. Like, so I don't know. But yeah, the debate to me, I guess that's what this started 20 minutes ago about. But there wasn't a lot of content on there that was new. It was I don't know. It was kind of boring for me as someone who follows a lot of stuff. There wasn't anything new. Not that there should be new. I need less people on the stage. I need way less people on the stage.
I think there's going to be a lull. We're going to the holidays.
It's almost the voting time though.
Right, and Iowa's.
Why do we have this many people on the stage 2 months before?
So there's really, I think there's only 4 people. you would agree, that have a legit shot at the nomination.
100%.
I think they're going to work.
I'd actually say 3 people. Buttigieg will never win without the black vote.
So, yes.
Like, he can't. It's impossible.
But he could be the nominee still. Well,
no.
I guess I should paraphrase. He could win the early states for sure.
He will. In my opinion, he will guaranteed win Iowa. I don't know anything past that, but Iowa seems like he's pretty strong.
Here's the other thing: is like none of them are going to drop out.
No,
it's like it's November. This thing is going to ride till the convention.
When is it usually decided?
So the convention is in June or July.
Okay.
Typically, it's wrapped up late spring.
Dang, man, that's crazy.
Yeah, and the Republican convention is in Charlotte.
Woohoo! I went to a Trump rally in Charlotte last year.
To a Trump rally when he was during the Republican primary in 2015.
Really? Yeah, I went when he was president. It was really weird.
It was when they were doing the I pledge to vote for Trump.
I did not see that.
Yeah.
God.
Who has the pledge?
No, our hands just happened to go up.
God.
Yeah. Yeah, debate, nothing new. People need to drop off. Endorse who you're going to endorse. Drop out.
Let's figure this out.
The only person I don't want to drop out that polls under 5% right now is Andrew Yang, because I actually think he has unique views that are worth it. I feel like Harris drives me like I'd rather hear fingernails on a chalkboard than hear her on that debate stage. She is so annoying to me. Trump got punked, and she waits for an applause.
One-liners.
It's like, oh my God.
What does she stand for?
I don't know.
She's flippy flop. We don't need to get too much of this.
Yeah.
I think we're all about.
It's gonna be Biden, Buttigieg,
3 hours
Bernie, or Warren.
Yeah.
One of those 4.
For sure.
That's for sure. I don't think it'll be Buttigieg, but I throw him in there because he has surged recently.
The only one I would say it's definitely not going to be is Joe Biden. I'm serious.
I feel like that should be a given because you hear the guy talk and you're like, why does anyone support him? But
restore the soul.
Yeah, it is the older generation, man, and I just don't have a good finger on what makes them tick. I don't
think we have a finger on anything anymore.
No, I just like to pretend I know what I'm talking about.
That's a wrap.
Fake it till you make it.
Yes, fake it till you make it.
That's what this podcast should have been named.
No,
fake it till you make it.
Then I couldn't have brought a beer of the week.
AA meeting. Fake it till you make it.
When can I start bringing liquor? Is that too hard?
Yeah, that's too hard.
A liquor of the week?
A liquor of the week once a month. We should do it once a month. I could do that one.
Whiskey Thursday?
Whiskey Thursday?
That's right now.
That is Thursday today.
Yeah. Not when this gets released.
It'll be released like Saturday or Sunday, depending on when I can edit it.
Saturday.
Sunday. Let's go with Monday.
Never released.
Cool. All right, man. It's good.
Oh, God. Why do I have 16 work group chat messages?
This says, how do you say when you do something the same way to get the same results? What's a word for that?
When you do some redundant?
No, when you do...
The same
how do you say when you do something the same way to get the same results? Repetitive?
Dude, I think the baby's about to like
blow up?
kick out of here.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
that was pretty good.